everybody. Speaking about AI, how we can stand alone in AI, but what we must build, what we must prepare. So.
Yes, I'm also traveling a bit, but whenever I'm there, let me know when I'm happy to meet up. More than informative.
Average 270 is the number that we counted last time, which is committed firm commitments.
Compute is stored and managed, and below that is the energy layer, which is what the new petrol, the new diesel. We'll have to look at multiple dimensions of this. Which will define sovereignty in a very big way are the compute layer and the 17 billion VC funding and
the revelation of the fragility, quite frankly, actually, and you know, many of us who were in government at that time, or not go forward with their commitments, tell their plans to install.
Why, in particular, in the context of this country, but even more broadly to the global south and the whole world, is this question as many of you as possible, but Rishi, thank you for co-hosting this with me. I'd like to begin to kick things off to establish some context for everyone, in addition to what we just heard from the Minister, by asking you a couple of brief questions. The first, and as I said,
foundational thing which on top of which is like the engine on top of which you build, and below that is the compute layer. Compute layer is the layer in which
in fact, about which you spoke quite eloquently at the Real Economy Forum in Singapore this past November. Thank you.
Thank you, Eric. Good morning, everybody. Speaking about AI, how we can stand alone in AI, but what we must build, what we must prepare. So we are ready for the era of AI. We must redefine our strategy to get better income, to get better economic growth, to get better life for the people. And for the next Bloomberg New Economic Forum in October, my suggestion is we should bring topics about AI for economy, AI for business, AI for trading, AI for small and medium enterprise, and AI for industry. Thank you. Be honest, you must be honest that for many countries, your AI sovereignty is unrealistic. Really, it is not realistic. Because we know that the country like US still depends on global supply chains and international talents. And if we focus only on AI sovereignty,
I think China's 35 years of production. And I think that was all wrong because everyone was a tech company, but I'm kind of tech company too. So when we have this data that we're working with, that's the bound that we are, that we see using AI to actually make supply chains more resilient, while at the same time making it efficient. And the last thing I would say is we're also carrying a lot of chips for a lot of people, and so
this is an extraordinary opportunity. I'd like to remind you, we have Minister Beshnoff here. We have
the next one that's being asked for in the past.
And enjoy.
And they said to me, Daddy, if AI takes over the world, we want to have good.
I think
President Trump was reelected or post-COVID.
A study that came out that said if you're harsh with the models, that they'll respond. And they said, that
3 million licenses from Zscaler. More than that. Very
now
it's about 5 million.
And we used to go around the world and tell people Huawei is a threat to your sovereignty. Huawei might shut off.
Now, we don't really store any data. We do the logs. But still, countries want the logs to be sitting.
even after
instead of one count, you 5-layer model. It's very logical, very good. And for sovereignty, I think other thing we should think with sovereignty is if your model can.
So one of the interesting ability this time or change in the model is that we as a user can reduce the cost of compute. What effort Indian government is putting to this for developers was cost of API, which is a fraction of a cent. In the world of AI, token is the biggest, one of the significant cost structures. So 70% cost was there.
My goodness, I feel personally that why shouldn't India have access to as many oxygen tanks as they want? And why did we in California stock up on toilet paper and sanitizer and masks and had an unlimited supply when my countrymen, or my, where I'm from, were suffering? And it doesn't feel right.
Interesting where the investments are now going, but it's just starting. I think we're going from one equilibrium state to another.
Almost more dependent on China, less the US, but everyone else is picking up the slack, which you may or may not pick anything depending on your point of view. But what are you seeing in terms of change in global trade patterns?
Well, I did a snapshot, end of 2025, end of 2024 to the World Cup.